Don't buy cheap tools. Matt, what's this? I just can't tell you how excited I am. Hello and welcome back to crewtdg. My name's Matt and this is the 8th episode of the e36 budget drift build. Our mission for today is relatively simple. If you take a look here in the interior, you'll see that the handbrake cables are not installed and neither is any part of the handbrake mechanism. So we will be putting it back together from stage 1, meaning that this is gonna be quite a fun and lengthy episode. I've never done such thing, so I will link you to a tutorial that I used, and hopefully it is gonna help us to get through with it. But now let's switch to the other camera and I'll show you the parts that I've purchased for this episode. We've got 2 sets of brand new handbrake cables. We've got 2 kits to fully rebuild each side of the handbrake mechanism. And of course, new handbrake shoes. These are the things that actually stop your car. So the simple way to explain how it all works is you've got these handbrake cables inside of your car, which you pull, forcing these little things to expand, and these are pushing into the insides of your brake rotor. Right here, yeah, that's the surface these little things will be touching. So in theory, now that all of the whole setup will be brand new, the handbrake should be working like a charm. Well, here's a little note to self: don't buy cheap tools. Yo, so I've been busy for the past 45 minutes. I've been busy breaking tools and then getting a little bit creative. Let me just show you what I've been up to. So here's my little creative mess. I've tried a lot of things. Needless to say, most of them didn't work. But yeah, so the single bolt that is holding the brake rotor in on this side, it just wouldn't budge. I did break one of my tools. You can actually see a part of it here. So that's trash. This is what worked. So a lot of WD-40 penetrant, 5 bolts fully tightened. My idea here was that if I press the brake rotor as close as possible to the hub, this little bolt should loosen. Then, of course, I've held on the brake rotor against its little guard right there using a screwdriver. And then you may be asking, Matt, what's this? Well, this is my solution. You take an E10 Torx. Yeah, you put it onto there, but it's a little bit wiggly. So you use a lot of paper, which by the way worked like a charm. And that in turn helps me opening this thing. Yeah! Welcome back to underneath my car. Next step is getting the handbrake cables installed. They start over here at the brake rotor. You won't be able to see right now, but there is a hole where it goes right through the bearing. Then it gets routed over to this little hole right there, and then they go into the car somewhere under those heat shields right there. We've got the original heat shield off. I don't think I will be putting this back on the car. And now, if you look up there to the left of the drive shaft on both sides, you'll see nice little holes there. That's where the handbrake cable goes into the interior of the car. I've got good news. If you take a look here, right there, yeah, you should be able to see that one of the handbrake cables is in. And if you take a look over here, you'll see that it goes out here where it's supposed to connect to the whole handbrake mechanism. So one of the cables is in. A couple of quick tips. If you're trying to get it through here, the hole that goes through has plenty of rust on the surface, at least my car did, so make sure you try to clean it out. A screwdriver through the bolt hole like this allows you to get in there and just scrape it off the walls. That helped me out heaps. Same thing applies to the handbrake cable here, and make sure your handbrake is lowered when you're trying to get it in. And just put a nut on the other side so it doesn't go back out. And this side, for now, is done. On to the next one. Guess what? Another obstacle in our path of getting this thing back on the road are these. So for some reason, I got sent the e36 brackets for the handbrake cable. And as you can clearly see, not only are they different to the 36 ones, they're also larger. So on E46s, the handbrake cable has got a little pin that hooks in here and then locks into place and would go in it like that. On an E36, as you can see, the end of the handbrake cable has got a spot for this little metal bit to go through, which then locks into this spot and then closes down and goes into place. A couple of days have passed since the last clip you've seen, and the handbrake mechanisms are still not on. And there's a reason for it. I've got a pretty decent excuse. I did spend about 2 days calling up anyone I could, trying to find new parts for the E36 mechanism. The only options I found were the OEM ones, which cost 45 euros for each side, so that's 90 euros to get the handbrake nice and shiny, which obviously, since I am trying to budget this thing out relatively decently, I wasn't gonna get. So we've got a bit of a solution. I will be cleaning the rust of these, trying to get them moving freely, because right now, like, you can move them, but they're just rusted out. So these will get cleaned up nicely, and in order to lock in the handbrake cables, they've got these 2 little pins, one on each side. I've only got one of them, and that's where the fun part begins. My solution is gonna be this. I bought a 6mm nail, and so the nail conveniently does go through this hole, barely, just barely. And in my theory, this should work as my new pin. I just can't tell you how excited I am. If you've done this before, you'll know why, but my first ever set of handbrake shoes and the regulator and the original mechanism, it's all in there. So, now that I've done it on one side, I can try to teach you guys, or at least explain the process to you on how to do it on this side. So we're starting with the clean hub. Yeah, nothing's been placed up there. We are good to go. The first thing I did was set up the brake shoes themselves. You want to pay attention for these little ridges here. You'll see that they're larger on one side. That's where the adjuster goes. And the adjuster will be going here, where your brake support normally is. Yeah, so this is how they will be sitting onto the car. Right? This one on the top, this one on the bottom. They are mounted by a very, very uncomfortable little mechanism. You've got this sort of a bolt that will go right through the brake shoe, through this hole right here, and mount into this place right there. You can see a nice little ridge there. Would you look at that? We're done. So the handbrake mechanism is all in place. It's not adjusted yet. We'll need the brake rotors for that, so about to install them. I'm just gonna clean up the hubs a little bit, so whenever I have to remove the brake rotors, they wouldn't be dead stuck on there. Hey guys, so that's going to be it for this episode of the E36 drift build. Thank you very much if you made it this far into it, and who knows, maybe you'd like to subscribe to the channel because there's definitely way more stuff coming your way. Also, check out my social media listed right here. Thank you for being here, and see you next time. Bye bye.